Hi everyone and welcome back. How's NaNoWriMo going? We're like a week into it now and I have no idea how I'm doing because I'm pre-filming. But let me know down in the comments how you're doing and I'm gonna add into the description or something how I'm doing right now in real time when this goes live. Not real time now because I'm currently on 0 words for NaNoWriMo because it's October 2nd. Today I'm going to share some hacks or tricks for NaNoWriMo that I think can be helpful for the rest of the month. There's quite a few of them and they're in no particular order, but I'm going to get right in because we all have writing to do, I'm pretty sure. My first tip is to see if you can find the time and place to write and also the song to write to. I have talked a little bit about my songs in a previous video. I will link it up in the corner where I talked about some of my favorite songs on my writing playlist that just get me in the zone and get me right back into writing. So see if you can find one of those songs and also see if there's a specific place or time of day that works best for you. Maybe it's on the couch after dinner. Maybe it's in a coffee shop at 6:30 in the morning when no one else is there. Maybe it's at your desk during your lunch break or something like that. Sometimes we don't have a specific time or place or a specific song that makes Nano happen for us, but sometimes we do, and it can be nice if you can find it and stick to it. I myself like writing in the morning, at least me right now, October 2nd me likes to write in the morning, but I also know that in the past week of Nano I probably won't have because I will be abroad and exploring Japan. So sometimes even if we have a routine, we can't always stick to it. But if you have one and you can stick to it and it works well for you, try to follow it because it might very well be what gets you through Nano. My second tip is to hold yourself accountable. And there are multiple ways to do this. Either you're just really strict on yourself and you tell yourself that I'm gonna write 1,000 words today, or I'm gonna write 1,000 words in this hour or whatever. You set a goal and you stick to it. Especially around this time because now the initial excitement of NaNoWriMo has usually worn off and now it's work. As we enter into the second week, that tends to be the toughest week for a lot of people, and that's simply because it's not as exciting anymore. You're no longer in the beginning of your story, your idea isn't as brand new anymore, your characters are starting to be kind of annoying, and you'd much rather just catch up on Netflix than sit down and write. But holding yourself accountable means you get the work done. And you can also, of course, implement the help of friends and family or strangers on the internet. The NaNoWriMo website in itself is a very good place because you have the tracker and the tracker holds you accountable. You can also do updates on whatever social media platform you want to. You can have a parent or friend or partner check in on you and see how you're doing. You can set up a system where every night before you go to bed, you have to send a text to these 5 friends and tell them where you are in your story, and if you're not on par or above, they get to yell at you. Find a way that works that isn't too mean, but if you know that you might not stick to it, finding that way of holding yourself accountable could be really good. And if that is friends and family, so be it. If that's a Nano web page, equally good. Just find a way that works and so that you stay on track and get the words done, and so you eventually win Nano. My third tip is to make sure to take breaks and to take breaks to move. I myself I'm very bad at this. I will do a sprint, I'll do a word sprint for 15 minutes and then I'll take a 5-minute break and then I'll do another 15-minute sprint and then break, sprint, break, sprint, break, sprint until I have the words. Now those 5 minutes I might spend updating my word count, checking the forums, chatting to a friend, checking Facebook, whatever, but I don't get up to move. And you're gonna be sitting a lot during NaNoWriMo. Most likely you're gonna write most of your Nano novels sitting down, and that's not always great. Make sure to get up at least once an hour and just do some light stretches, walk around the room, go grab a snack and a glass of water, excellent excuse to get that snack in, and make sure that you move. Your body will thank you for it, your brain will thank you for it, and your December self will also thank you for it. This sort of ties into my fourth goal in a way, which is to use a reward system. If that is that if you win NaNoWriMo, you get to buy this insert whatever thing you want to buy here, or if you get 500 words in the sprint you get to have a piece of chocolate, or if you finish your words for today before 9 p.m. you get to catch up on that show you want to watch. Whatever it is, have a reward system. This doesn't have to be pricey, it doesn't have to be time consuming, just make sure you do something for yourself, something that you want to do, something you've wanted to do for a while. And if that is making a cake or buying a bath bomb, whatever it is, and as long as it's something you want to work for. Now I'm not saying if you're desperate to read this new book that's come out and your reward is that if you hit 10k before the weekend's over, you get to buy it, and then you fall short, you get 9,500 words. I'm obviously not saying you can't buy the book, but then you're not allowed to buy the book as the reward. You need to find a different reason to buy the book, or you're not allowed to buy it until December or something else. This will most likely make you work harder and again, get you your words. I don't know yet what my rewards will be for this year. Usually I reward myself with candy as the month progresses, and then I might have a bigger reward for the end. But again, I'm recording this in October. I'll be gone for a third of Nano and then we might be moving. I don't even know where I'll be at the end of November, so I can't really specify what my reward is if I'm gonna have a big reward. My 5th tip is to use word sprints. I've talked about them before, I will keep talking about them in the future. Word sprints are the best in my opinion. It gives you a set amount of time to get as many words down as you can. You can either do these IRL with a friend or at a write-in, or you can do them on Twitter, either on the actual NaNoWriMo word sprints page, which I will link down below, or just use a hashtag NaNoWordSprint or WordSprint or something like that if they aren't running any right now, and you'll usually find someone who can tag along. They only run theirs for certain hours. They've gotten better over the years and almost do them around the clock because they have people in different time zones managing different times of day basically. And since it is a bit of a challenge, you either sort of challenge the people you're sprinting against, or if you're sprinting alone, you can challenge yourself and be like, well, I got 700 words last time I did a 15-minute sprint. Today I'm gonna get 750. Since it is a bit of a challenge, it drives you to write more. At least it does for me and for many others. My 6th tip in a way goes hand in hand with that, and that is to get involved with other writers. Now be careful with this one. First of all, because, you know, contacting strangers on the internet is always a bit daunting and could potentially be unsafe, but also because it can eat up a lot of your time. Writers make great friends, and you can find so many people through the NaNoWriMo forums or at write-ins or something like that. And it can be a lot of fun, and hopefully the person is also doing NaNoWriMo. If they're not, you can still discuss plot, characters, problems, villains who aren't mean, things not going the way you want, how to write more, how to write better, what's a synonym for this word, and so on and so forth. You can still get a lot out of it, even if that person is not doing NaNoWriMo. And if they are, of course, you can get a lot out of that too. I'm fortunate enough to have a boyfriend who is also a writer, and we live together and we nano together on separate projects, but still do it together. And I made a lot of nano friends locally over the past couple of years as well, who I see somewhat regularly on write-ins. And that's a big help. And even if I don't see them, I still talk to them on Facebook or in the forum or via the nano mail system. So we still stay in touch, and it's a great help. I also think it's beneficial to have buddies on the nano forums. You can add however many buddies you want, and I think it's a very good thing to do. I mean, obviously don't just add anyone and everyone because that's just confusing and a bit weird maybe. But having other people doing nano and regularly seeing their updates and their progress is also something that's pushed me in previous years to do better, to write more, to get further. And there are typically, at least for me, there are at least typically a couple people who are around the same place word count wise. For me, that's such a great thing, because if someone is like 400 words ahead of me, well, I'll just write 500 words and then I'll be ahead of them. And maybe they've written 300 words more then, and then, you know, you climb together. I don't know if they look at it the same way and they see me sort of chasing them and try to get ahead, but for me it works really well. And when I have days when I don't want to write and I'm behind or just really should get the words done, I have a few different ways of doing that, and one way to get myself to write is looking at how are my buddies doing. Is anyone near where I'm at? And can I outdo them? Apparently, I'm a very competitive person when it comes to NaNoWriMo. My 7th tip is to save and back up your project regularly. There is nothing worse than losing progress. Whatever system you're using, if you're writing on your phone or your computer, if you're using Google Docs or Scrivener, if you're writing by hand, if you're using a flash drive, if you're emailing your project to yourself, keep it up. Make sure to always have fresh backups, and hopefully there will be no mishaps. Personally, I tend to write in LibreOffice on my computer and either copy paste it into Google Docs so that I have it there too, or email it to myself, or put it on a thumb drive, or do multiple of these things, because there would be nothing worse than losing all that hard work and progress that you've made. My 8th tip has to do with foods and snacks. Now, I already mentioned a couple weeks ago in my quick tip video to food prep if you can, and that still stands. Also have noveling friendly snacks around. If you can't meal prep, or you're out of ideas, or you're simply out of prepped food, try to make something quick and easy. Make something that either make something in bulk that will turn into food prepping that you can have for days to come, or make something that takes like 10 minutes. NaNoWriMo tends to not be the most nutritious month, and I mean, don't screw up your diet completely, but it might happen anyway. And regarding nano safe snacks or novel safe snacks. Basically, don't eat like melted chocolate with your fingers and then put your fingers to the keys. That doesn't mean that whatever you eat has to be in wrappers, or it can only be something that doesn't melt or stick or something like that. But having snacks around and having snacks aplenty around is always good, and also having a variety. I am a big sucker for candy. I eat a lot of candy. I eat it year round, but also it's nice to break that up occasionally with an apple or a bowl of ice cream or some popcorn. Make sure to have options, because that might also fuel you differently for your writing. And there's no worse feeling than being stuck in your writing, hating it, going to get a snack to perk you back up, and hating all the snacks you have at home. So make sure to have a variety. My 9th tip is, if you need to make a change somewhere in your story, if you realize halfway through that your main character doesn't have a dog, he has a cat, or her eyes are blue and not green, or whatever else, there is no king, they have a different kind of government, whatever it may be, don't go back and change what you've already written. I know it's tempting. It would give you a cleaner first draft once you reach the end, but it also eats up a lot of your time. Instead, I would say for you to make a note of where you decided to make the change. Just make the text bold and make a sentence where you write, this is where I changed her eyes into blue. And then from that point, her eyes are blue. That's it. It saves time. And I know it's very tempting to go back and fix it. And I've done that too. But the problem is usually that when you go back, you find other things that either are inconsistencies, which I suppose are good to find, but it still distracts you from getting more words done. Or you find parts where like, what the heck was I thinking? This makes no sense. This writing is horrible. I hate everything I'm doing. And then you get discouraged. So I find it's just better to make a note, this is where I changed this thing, change it from that point on, and then deal with the first bit later. My 10th and final tip for this video is to use placeholders. And that is a bit similar to the 9th tip, but basically if you're in a situation and you can't for the life of you figure out what the word for tractor is, you have 3 options. 1, Google it. Figure out, oh, it's tractor, duh, put tractor, move on. 2, describe what it is. Big farming equipment vehicle type thing. That gives you more words, granted, but still. Or thirdly, use a placeholder. I tend to use a placeholder where I just put a couple of X's in a row, and then when I'm editing, I know when I hit these X's that, all right, that was a word I couldn't figure out, and then I can just put that in. Now there are of course pros and cons to this. For the first one, a pro is that you get the word right and you don't have to go back and edit it at a later point, but it takes time away from writing. The second tip, you get more words because you described the word instead of finding the word, but you're probably not going to keep it that way when you edit. And with the third tip, you save time by not looking up what the word is, but there's also a problem that you might end up having just entire chapters being placeholders. Not quite, but you get what I mean. And whatever you do, do not control find all the places you put 4 X's in a row and change all of them into tractor in this scenario, because you probably will not continuously forget the word for tractor, and several of the placeholders are supposed to be different words. So changing them all into tractor is not really saving you any time at all. Now the placeholder thing I've started doing a lot more in recent times, and I do it a lot during sprints. Instead of taking time out of a sprint to figure out whatever word I was looking for, I'll just put a placeholder and come back to it. Sometimes I do it at the end of the sprint, sometimes I forget and don't do it until I edit at the very end, and sometimes it's somewhere in between. But I find that it saves me time. Placeholders are also good, not just when you can't figure out the word, but if there's just something you can't quite figure out. For example, if your characters are in the car and this is in the 1980s and they're listening to the radio and like the newest, coolest, hippest song comes on the radio, and you want to write down, ooh, and then song name came on. Instead of taking time out of your writing, regardless of if you're sprinting or not, to look up which was the #1 hit song in June of 1984, just to get the title right, just put a placeholder in. It saves you a lot of time and makes your life easier, at least in the moment. Now in that scenario, I mean, you might just put 4 X's in a row without spaces as your placeholder, and then it turns out that the title of the song is actually like 3 words long, but then you just get another couple words when you fill in the placeholder, and that's a plus. I prefer putting my placeholder as 1 word of like 4 X's than assuming, oh, but it's probably, what I'm looking for is probably like 5 words long, because once I fill it in and it isn't, I lose words. But that was it. Those were my 10 hacks for NaNoWriMo that I hope will help you throughout the rest of the month. I would love to hear in the comments down below how you're doing, and I'll make sure to put a comment myself or in the description how I'm doing, because again, right now I do not know. I am still in Japan when this video goes up, but I'm gonna be home in just a couple days, and I look forward to doing NaNoWriMo at home. Probably. I've hopefully done well with NaNoWriMo abroad as well, but it's different being home and having access to your fridge and your computer and stuff. But I will be back with another video next week, and I will see you then. Have a good one, guys. Bye.